Alright, we're doing this again. Hello everybody. You should know me if you're watching my YouTube channel, but for those that don't know me, my name's Ray, and, well, I'm gonna try to do a Dark Souls series. I tried once before, didn't really feel into it, so I just sort of called it quits, but this time, I think this time I'm gonna be able to do it. Disclaimer, a couple disclaimers. I have beaten this game numerous times. Pardon me. I have beaten this game numerous times. God, what the fuck? Ugh. I've beaten this game numerous times. But I have not played for about a year. Was waiting for the release of Dark Souls 2, and well, I got a couple words to say about that game. And as you just saw, I'm having to play offline because of Games for Windows Live is pretty bad. So, as I said, I've played through this game quite a few times. I mainly played as either a pure dexterity build or a dual pyromancer dexterity build, but this time I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to most likely avoid magic, save for maybe one spell, one pyromancy, to be used later in the game. So, yeah, this is Raygin playing Dark Souls. I hope you enjoy it. I'm gonna go ahead and there. Put the camera speed at 10. Alright, I'll be quiet during all cutscenes and when people are talking, so people that haven't played the game can understand what's going on. So let's go ahead and get still some more options. Yes. Alright, here we are at the character creation screen. A creation screen that serves its purpose. Raygin a second. Nah, how about just Raygin? Okay. Sex, obviously male. Oh, they don't have any of those Tumblr genders, Tumblr sexes. I am bothered. So, here I'm going to talk a little bit about each of the classes and my opinions on each of them. Warrior here, he's your basic class. He is your basic Knight and Shield. He starts with the Heater Shield, which is an incredibly good shield, 100 block resistance, or 100% damage reduction when you're blocking. Very basic class. It's essentially the jack of all trades, in my opinion. Then you get the Knight, which is what we're going to be playing through on this game. We'll be starting with the Knight. And on the left side of the screen over there, you can... One second. It's very unprofessional, but... in my opinion, the music is a little too loud. Alright, that's better. Okay. Alright, Alright. We're gonna go back to... Now, as I was saying, on the left side of the screen, you are able to see the various stats that you will start out with when you play this character. Do note that I believe that the highest level that is possible is soul level 99. I might be wrong. So you are allowed to put as many points into every stat as possible. But if you were playing online, then that wasn't a very good idea, because if I remember correctly, soul level 150 is the highest soul level that most people go to. But as you can see, as the Knight, there's decent vitality, which is the which vitality would be your HP, your life. Attunement are spell slots. Endurance is your stamina and equipment load. Strength is strength. And dexterity is dexterity, another weapon stat. Strength and dexterity are 2 weapon stats. Certain weapons require certain strength and dexterity to wield, while, for instance, the Zweilhander weapon requires 24 strength and 10 dexterity. And something that From Software decided to add is if you dual wield a weapon, it increases your strength by 50%. So, yeah. Resistance is a stat that we will not be touching. It's literally a dumb stat that is next to useless. Intelligence is the magic stat, the sorcery stat. By increasing your intelligence, you will get increased sorcery damage, as well as being able to use different spells. Faith is essentially the same thing as intelligence, but rather it's based off miracles and some other factors in the game, but it's mostly the miracle stat. Now, going off the other classes, we have the Wanderer, who, as you can see, is a dexterity-based character. The Thief, which is a much higher dexterity-based character, but is more based on dexterity rather than the other stats. So a little lighter, can't take as many hits. And the unique thing about the Thief is he starts with the Master Key, which is the item that we're going to be starting with in this game. We get the Bandit, who is a rather powerful starting class, I might say. Now, I'm not completely sure if the Bandit is the easy mode for melee characters, but he does start with some pretty good stats, and he does start with some pretty good equipment. The Spider Shield, as you can see here, is a shield that 100% blocks poison and toxin, and the Battle Axe is a decent weapon overall. You have Hunter, who I believe also starts with a bow and arrow. Since he has arrows, he's basically your start with a ranged weapon class. Sorcerer, in my opinion, one of the game's easy modes is magic, and as a sorcerer, you will start with sorcery. As you can see, he's got some pretty high attunement, and he has high intelligence. Now, Pyromancer is undoubtedly the game's easy mode. Fire is a central theme to this game. It's very important to the lore, it's very important to the story, and fire magic fits very well into the story. Pyromancer starts with fire magic, and fire magic does a lot of damage to early game enemies. You can defeat many bosses with just pyromancy, right? And you don't even have to hit them with your weapon. But while Pyromancer is undoubtedly the easy mode, it also, as you can see, it starts at level 1. So Pyromancer has the highest level of customization that you're able to do to it. Unlike, say, the Knight, who starts with soul level 5, you lose a couple levels of putting your stat points where you want to put them. On almost every game I've started, I've always started with Pyromancer, mostly because of that customization, and also because those characters usually turned out to be PvP characters or co-op characters. I'm not going to do that, because as I said, I can't connect to Live anymore because of Games for Windows Live. So moving on, we have the Cleric, who is the church guy. Unlike the Pyromancer and the Sorcerer, he starts with miracles. He's your go-to miracle guy. Pardon me. Too early in the morning to be talking. So, I've played as Cleric. Typically, when I do my co-op builds, I will always try to play as a Cleric, because I believe that miracles are perhaps one of the best spells for co-op assistance. Lightning Spear, Force, Healing. It's a very good class. However, I'm not going to be touching miracles because I can't connect to Live, and one of the best miracles, in my opinion, the Lightning Spear, is only acquired from co-op. So, I can't throw lightning. As you can see, Cleric starts with some really decent stats. It starts with some decent strength, mostly for that mace, which is actually a very good weapon. Mace is a very good weapon. And then we have the Deprived. Yeah. I think this was the attempt at making the challenge class, but I never really see people play Deprived. One of the challenge runs actually in the game is the Pyromancer run, the Soul Level 1 run, where you beat the entire game without leveling up once. It's definitely a challenge, but it's not one we're going to attempt. We're gonna actually start out as Knight for that chivalrous glory to the Queen. I don't know. Now we're gonna go through these gifts. Again, this first episode may not be very exciting. It's mostly explaining away some of the things as in the starting menu for people that have never played the game before. We have the Goddess's Blessing, which is, I think that may be a typo. I think that's supposed to be Divine Blessing. It's a one-use healing item. Fully restores your HP and status. In my opinion, you never want to start with these healing items. Mostly because you can use them at any time, and then it's done. Black Firebomb is an item that you will get more frequently throughout the game. But starting with the Black Firebomb allows for a pretty funny thing to happen, which I'll explain later, but I'm not going to start with these. Twin Humanities. This is an item I would recommend you get, because humanity, as I'll explain later, is a very important thing in the game, but you don't have to start with this. It's a very good gift, in my opinion. Binoculars, absolutely useless. You get binoculars very early in the game. Pendant. Now, for those that follow the Souls community, the pendant was an item that caused a lot of controversy. It's an item that does absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. Well, that's not true. You can use it, you can trade it for another item. But the pendant is created for role-playing value, to pick a gift that won't benefit you, but it's something to roleplay with, like, this is a pendant on my family, it helps me remember them, it keeps me from going hollow. But the creator of the game hinted that the pendant was used for something bigger. This caused a massive race, similar to the space race, where people were trying to figure out what the pendant did. But then the creator came out a couple years later and said that he was kidding, it was just a joke. So he effectively fooled the Souls community in a big prank. But we're not going with the pendant, we're going to go with the Master Key, which will open a lot of doors for us. Now, I'm sure some of you that have played the game will understand what I want to do with the Master Key, but just to put this out there, we will be doing every area of the game and fighting every single boss. And now we have the Tiny Being's Ring. This is wrong. What it says right there, HP recovers slowly while equipped. This is wrong. The Tiny Being's Ring does not regenerate your HP, it only increases it. Why they've allowed that typo to remain there, I don't understand. It's very misleading, and it's very wrong. Now, the Old Witch's Ring... Old Witch's Ring is something that I really do want to get, but the Master Key is far more useful. Are you fucking kidding? This is why I need to cancel the home phones. The Old Witch's Ring is used for unique dialogue with one character in the game. Very, very unique dialogue, and I won't spoil anything other than that. I'll talk about it when it gets to it. But we're gonna go with the Master Key. Now we're on to character creation. Body type, we have slim, we have very slim, we have large, like slim, and then large. Very large, morbidly muscular, obese character. Large upper body. Large lower body. Thunder thighs here. Top heavy. Which is basically big head mode and then tiny head. We're gonna go with very large upper body because our character skips leg day and he only focuses on swinging his sword around. Now we're gonna get to the face right here. We're only gonna choose a face and then we'll customize it a little more in a few minutes. Now as you see, we have a whole... What is this, Ray? What's this Delta Farm Rest or normal? Well, this is your different face. It's more like your nationality. Rather, it's your face and it's also your nationality. It's like what different lands you come to. I forgot this was a thing. Well, I forgot what I was saying. Whatever. Yeah, each of the faces are a different, it's a different nationality. If you read the bottom there, it will say something a little about the lore of the nation or the person's face. I always think that the Great Swan people look fairly Hispanic, in my opinion, and face prejudice for their atypical looks is a fairly interesting little line. We're gonna go with the commoner, just because we're not really anybody special to begin with. Just saying. Hair. There's nothing really unique about the hairs. I'll go ahead and just pick the sweatback. Well, I'll show you. There's ponytail. There's wild. There's parted center. There's semi-cut, which is your Leon S. Kennedy hair. Curly, and then your Mo Howard. We're gonna go with swept back. Color. Just gonna go with black. And now we're gonna, instead of just going to accept it, I would like a character whose face I'm never going to really be able to see, but I still want to feel some attachment to it. So I'm going to do a little customization. Something I always like to do when I'm creating characters is I always want a unique eye color, and even though red isn't exactly a unique color, it's rather unique in the game, and will make my character at least stand out a little bit. This character's not a very happy one. It's always got to give him his trademark brow or... That's much better. That's much better. Not a very happy-looking character. Well, I mean, he is Raygin, and Raygin was never depicted in any of the roleplays as being a very happy person. I don't spend too much time in character creation, because most of the helmets in the game do hide your character's face, as well as in most gameplay, you're not actually going to see your character's appearance, which is something I will show when we get to it. I think the nose is fine. I think everything else is fine. I just wanted to fix the eyes and brow. Alright, just checking over everything. You can see down in the bottom middle square there that you're able to see all the items you're going to be starting with. Alright, and I will stop talking for the cutscene.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire. And with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bolts peeled apart their stone skins. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath, the Scaleless, betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless lights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side. Yes, indeed. The dark side brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
Alright. Welcome to the Northern Undead Asylum, everybody. That earlier cutscene, very good cutscene. Very good for setting up the world and the history of the world, as well as introducing us to the big players of the history in the game. As you can see, we are locked in the prison. We recently received the dungeon cell key. And remember when I said earlier that our face doesn't really matter? Well, this is why. Our character is a zombie, a undead, a hollow. One of the cursed with the dark sign, which is actually a item in your inventory that I don't believe anyone has ever used anytime ever. God, there's something I wanted to say, but I forgot what it was. So, carrying on, we are here, locked up in the asylum with all the other undead. I don't want to go tussle with that guy just yet. Huh. Here we got a crying zombie, so I might as well introduce the combat mechanics real fast. No. I'll do it later. Or, well, fuck it. So in the Souls games, you have a very complex and intricate combat system. You can lock on, so that way you're able to stay connected to one enemy, focus on one enemy, or you can switch between multiple, like I was just there. Now, depending on what system you're playing, I'm playing on PC, but with a PS3 controller that's using Xbox 360 button layout. You have a light attack, your fast attack, your R1 for a quick hit, and then your R2, for example, is a much harder hit. Now, you're able to equip weapons in both hands for different results, if I can show you here, like with this broken straight sword. Oh. As you can see, the R1's here. A little faster, a little quicker, does not take as much stamina. And then you have a much harder hit with the R2. And then although, I forgot that in Dark Souls 1, the right-handed combat isn't quite as sophisticated as it is in Dark Souls 2, which I think the sequel did a little better than the original, in my opinion. They made dual-wielding a much more viable option. Sorry, man, I need your souls. Alright, now you see down there in the bottom corner, that little number, that is your soul. Those are your souls. Souls serve as the currency in this game, as well as, well, they're currency. It's literally currency. You're able to buy items, levels. It's both your currency and your experience points, pretty much. A few other things. The red bar at the top of the screen is your HP, your life bar. That bar is directly affected by vitality. The more vitality you have, the higher that bar is. The green one is your stamina bar. Performing actions like rolling, or running, or jumping, attacking, will drain your stamina bar. Now, and you have to give it a few seconds to boost all the way back up. Others may disagree with me, but I believe the stamina bar in Dark Souls is the most important part. It is far more important than your HP. Your HP is second to your stamina bar. You need to watch your stamina bar so that way you don't fuck up and do something completely stupid and then lose a lot of HP because you don't have any stamina. Huh, you can see him through the little crack. I didn't realize that. So here we have one of the major design changes between Demon Souls and Dark Souls. The bonfires, which are very important to the story. They're not just like checkpoints in Sonic games where they're just inexplicably everywhere. Bonfires are incredibly important to the story of the game, which is something that I will be getting into while I play through. I will happily talk about the lore behind certain things and characters. And please note that these lore may not be facts. These may be just my opinions. And I'll be sure to tell you if they're opinions. But some things, they're just facts, and I'll be sure to mention that. Bonfire service checkpoints. By sitting or resting at one, you regain a certain item that we don't have yet. You're able to restore all your HP. You're able to, well, I'll show you later. But the point is, when you rest at a bonfire, if you die, and you will die, you will come back to the bonfire. But a side effect of using the bonfires is that bonfires respawn all non-special enemies in the area. Actually, the entire world. Bonfires will respawn all enemies in the entire world. So let's go ahead and open this door up. Sorry, my ears are acting up. And there it is. We just gotta get through that door, and we are home free. Oh. Welcome to the tutorial of Dark Souls. Very reminiscent, in my opinion, of Demon Souls, which had a very similar, large monstrosity as your tutorial boss. As you can see, we're not doing any damage to this guy. We are doing literally 1 to 4 points of damage. Well, what do? We can fight him. We absolutely can. But I think it would be best if we ran in here. Which then locks the door. Now, as somebody who has played the Soul series multiple times, I knew exactly to do that. But many new players who play the game will try to fight him, and they will die. We have another bonfire here. They will die multiple times, many times to him, until they notice the door. And From Software even made sure to make the door at least semi-noticeable. They put little candle lights right over the door. They can't really see it from this side. They did put little lights right over the door to make it stand out a little against the lightless whatever else. Let me read this. Get your shield. Okay. We have an archer up here who's taking pot shots at us, and over here, this glowing white mass is an item. The Tower Kite Shield, our starting equipment for our knight. Very good shield. Don't think that just because an item is starting with a class that it's an overall bad item. This is directly not true. The Kite Shield. And we also got our sword. Let's look over our weapons real fast. Kite Shield. Now, for shields, you're not really going to want to focus on your attack, the attack side. That's for challenge or novelty builds where you want to use shields as a weapon, which I think Dark Souls 2 did a little better than Dark Souls 1 in regards in regards to using your shields as weapons. You see over on the right the damage reduction percentage. The Kite Shield has 100% physical damage reduction, 30% magic reduction, which means it's not a very good shield to use against magic. Oh, your footsteps. This is also something I also want to add. I want to address about the game. There is no pausing this game. You cannot pause this game. This is a trait that was also shared with the predecessor Demon Souls and also shared with the successor Demon Souls 2. Or, no, Dark Souls 2, my bad. Forgive me. Now, back to what we were doing. Now, as you can see, this weapon does have a 70% damage resistance to fire, which I think is very useful later on in the game. Lightning is 50%, meaning I don't want to get hit by any lightning attacks anytime soon. Now, you see that bar that says required parameters? That's what I was talking about earlier in regards to you need a certain stat to wield an item. to wield this shield, we need 10 strength, which, as we can look over on the right, we can definitely see that I have 11 strength. I am more than able to wield this shield. Parameter bonus on the left side is scaling. How much more attack power this item is going to get based off a stat. This shield has a D ranking in strength. Now, I'm not 100%... Now, I don't even know the percentages that each rank gives. I just know that C is better than D, B is better than C, A is better than B, and S is better than A. That's all I know. And that's all I need to know. Now, we're going to look over here at the broadsword. Which has a C scaling in both strength and dexterity. So I'm benefiting from wielding this. I'm getting 7 additional damage, 7 additional points of attack with this weapon because of that parameter bonus. This weapon will do 82 plus 7 damage. And as we can look over on the other side of the damage reduction, you can use this sword as a shield. But just looking over at that, it's obvious it's not a very good shield. It's only going to reduce half the damage I take. Now, in order to use this as a shield, I would most likely dual wield it, which you can do by hitting your Y or triangle button, depending on what you're using. I don't recommend using a keyboard for Dark Souls. I always recommend using a controller. Dual wielding will, as I said, it increases your strength by 50%. So you will be doing more damage when you dual wield, but if I remember correctly, you're also losing the cost of having a good shield, and your attacks, I think, drain a little more stamina than they do normally. Ah, yes, how could I forget this? Rolling. There are 2 modes of defense in this game: shields and rolling. There are many people that will tell you rolling is the best option of defense, and I am inclined to agree with them. Rolling is no doubt the best defense in Dark Souls, or in any Souls game. When you roll, you give yourself something called invincibility frames. Now, as you can see, I'm doing a fat roll. Your roll is determined by your weight. If I can find it. There it is, right there. Equipment load. Right there under HP and stamina. Equipment load. I am very high up there. It's always based on a percentage of what your equipment load is. I'm over the 50% mark. I'd say I'm either close to 60 or 70% of my equipment load. Maybe not 70, maybe just 60. Now, if I were to take my armor off, like this, I would have a better roll. This would give me more invincibility frames, and the roll is just overall faster. Taking off all my armor, taking off everything, gives me the fastest roll in the game, which gives you quite a number of invincibility frames, and thus makes you incredibly harder for enemies to hit, and I also look like a raisin. Seriously veiny stuff right there. Is that the dark sign? Is that something else? Alright. There's an item over here. But it's an item we can't get to yet. The stairway is broken. I have to say, I'm rather pleased with my decision to tone down the brightness a little. It makes the dark areas of the game a lot darker. Hence the name, Dark Souls. Please ignore that joke. But coming up here, we have an... You know, that's what I get for being a little cocky. I was going to try to dodge that all cool-like, and I failed completely. Alright, coming in here... See, the ball has rolled all the way over here, and oh, what's this? It's the gentleman who freed us from our cell. Let's go talk to him.
Oh, you. You're no hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I were both undead. Hear me out, will you? Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family, "Thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know." Well, now you know, and I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask, an undead favorite.
This is our primary healing item in the game, the Estus Flask.
Oh, and this. Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
Now, this gentleman right here is Oscar. Oh, God. Wow. Oscar, Knight of Astora. Now, I don't think a lot of people quite understand the importance of this character. Oscar is the one who sets the entire game's motions into effect. He's the one that frees you from the cell. Oscar is an undead, and the reason he comes to Lordran is because he believes that he isn't the one to do the prophecy. He's coming to the undead asylum to free other undead so that they may take part in the prophecy that he just told us. Oscar was knocked from the roof, as you can see by the damage in the skylight here, by the asylum demon that we recently just fought, who jumped down on us. He was the one that mortally wounded Oscar here. Earlier in development, Oscar was actually going to have... I want to see if I can catch his death animation. Nah, fuck it. Earlier in development, Oscar was actually going to have a much larger role than he originally has right now. The original plan for Oscar was that he was going to essentially be your opposite. He was going to appear multiple times throughout the game, going on the same quest you were, the same quest of the Chosen Undead. And along the way, you would talk to him, and it would be realized that he was taking the opposite path you were. He was always doing the opposite thing you were. While he was still fighting the bosses and such like you were, just his method was going differently. And at the end of the game, I'm not going to spoil anything, but at the end of the game, depending on your choice, Oscar was going to arrive and criticize you for your choice, and you were going to fight him after the final boss. This, however, was scrapped from the final build of the game, but it's something that it's nice that they put that thought into it. But it's something I do wish that they did include, like a rival, so to say. Oscar was going to be your rival. No, but as I said, Oscar does play a much larger role than a lot of people give him credit for. Oh wow, I fucked that up. Come on. Oh, fuck it. Now what I just performed here is a backstab. What I was trying to perform earlier was a parry, but I'm not very good at this. Backstabs are when you get directly behind somebody in a very specific, narrow cone, and you attack, and it'll do quite a bit of damage to them. Now, this video has gone on long enough, and I've taken off my armor. He didn't just do what I think he just did he? There's no way. He did not just do what I think he just did. No, he didn't. What the fuck was that sound then? Okay, whatever. We're back in round 2, and now that we have our armors and weapons and armor, we can get this started. we can start to get this started promptly. Now, I took off my armor simply for this fight, simply to get it over with and get it done. Now I have tried fighting this gentleman with all the knight armor on, and it is actually rather difficult in my opinion. You are not able to dodge. You're not able to dodge his moves as well as you would normally be able to, and he does hit pretty hard to begin with. You know, that's the only ever attack that ever seems to hit me anymore. It's just that one. And that's always because I get stuck on his butt. Those jiggle physics. And like that, the Asylum Demon is dead. I have achieved victory. We'll go ahead and put our armor on. We've obtained the humanity. Now, there's something I mentioned earlier in this video regarding the black firebombs. The reason you want to pick the black firebombs as you're starting it is because you can use those against the Asylum Demon as soon as you walk through that door over there. You don't have to go get your weapons, and using the black firebombs, you can easily kill him. Now, the reward for killing him so early without getting your weapons is you will get the hammer he wields, the Demon's Great Hammer, I believe it's called. And that's a weapon I believe requires 50 strength to even wield. And in my opinion, it's not a very good weapon. And so this is our goodbye to the Undead Asylum that has held us for an indeterminate amount of time. And it's a goodbye to Oscar as well, who has set our character upon the path upon the quest of the chosen undead. Was he right? Are we the one? Are we the one to ring the two bells? Let's go see.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
Alright, we have made it to Firelink Shrine, and I think this is as good a time as any as to call this first episode quit. I really hope you guys are looking forward to this series, and as such, yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this first video, and I hope you will want to watch the rest of the series. So next time I'll explain the Firelink Shrine, I'll explain a couple things, and then we'll go ahead and get started with our big old questy quest. Alright, this is Ray signing off.